good morning there in Philippines and good day all over the world. This is Barlaan and welcome to Women's World. I am broadcasting from another corner of my house and I'm exploring every corner every week, as you see. Today we are going to hear our guest of honor, which is no less than the queen of media, ethnic media in Philippines and in America. This is my twin Marivir. Let me bring you over to her studio in New York City. Hello, twin.
Hi, twin. Good evening, and good evening to our audience. Welcome to Women's World. It's Sunday, and I'm happy to be here with you and to share a conversation about the community I love best, the media community. So hopefully I'll be able to share what I know, and it would be of useful importance to all of you. So with that, twin, I'd like to turn you over to our co-host from Tagbilaran. Hello, Dr. Arceli, how are you?
Hi, good morning from the Philippines. Hello, world. Hi, Miss Marivir and Miss Merle. Your hair are getting nicer every day. So welcome once again to the Women's World. And it's Monday here in the Philippines, 8:01. So may I just proceed with the recap last time for episode 6 with attorney Christina Godinez. And it was episode 6, and we were talking about the spousal visa and the cost of immigration. So migration. According to her, marriage immigration is popular simply because our cultural and historical tie with the U.S. is getting stronger, right, through the years. And that in the immigration law of the U.S., it doesn't set quota for spousal visas. So there are 2 types of visas. We have the fiancé and who can actually sponsor foreigners in coming to the U.S. are those U.S. citizens and those green card holders. So for the case of fiancé visa or the spousal visa, fiancé visa, you really need to get married within 90 days or else the partner will be deported back to their home country. So criminal liabilities are faced by those who are arranging marriages, for surely it is against the law. So what is just basic here is what they are trying to check into is the reality of the love affair between the partners. So she stressed that what the opposite sex are enjoying in immigration law is also enjoyed by even the same sex. So those were the things that she discussed. And again, it boiled down that there should be certainty of the true love between the couple and no other than that, or else it could be against the law. So it was such a heavy topic, but however, we were learning so much from that, and many were interested to know more of things because it means forever. When you are getting tied with one, supposedly it should be for the rest of your life. So this morning, we are shifting to another domain, and it has to do with media. And I'm wearing ethnic here,
Oh, nice.
We'll be talking of ethnic media. And the queen of media will be introduced to us by my co-host, Ms. Merle.
Yes, thank you, Arceli. For this week, our episode 7, we are going to talk about ethnic media in time of COVID. This is very interesting. We are living in the time of information technology. And the times that we are living now, there are so much division. I believe that this is partly also of the information that are being fed to us. So it's really important to take into account what are the informations that we are receiving, and media, whether there are so many types of media. There is a print media, social media, even in the arts and theaters and music, all types of media. And these are major influencer in our society today. So let's take into account the role of the ethnic media in shaping our society, and how much it has played a role in our life and in the future. And to discuss that very complicated, interesting topic, to us is no other than, I call her really the queen of media in her own rights, my twin Marivir Montebon, because she has, I really admire the way she is very feisty, at the same time righteous. And I've known her for the last more than 10 years, twin, right?
Yes.
15 years, I think.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So let me introduce her first. Marivir Montebon. She's the executive editor of OSM online magazine, which is based in New York City, founded by uh, MM, which is Maribel Montebon, and her late daughter, Liani Auxilio, in 2012. Formerly, she's the president of the Phil-Am Press Club of New York, and she is also an awardee of the Best in Investigative Journalism 2019 of the Plaridel Awards of the Phil-Am Press Club of America. Ladies and gentlemen, my friends from all over the world, let us welcome my dear twin, the beautiful Marivir
Wow.
Montebon.
Thank you, twin. Thank you so much.
You're
Once
welcome.
I
Hello.
am honored to be able to provide information to all our viewers regarding ethnic media, because right now, um, media is very accessible and very accessible to all kinds of information that sometimes we get confused, which is true, which is false, and it's hard to go forward with if we do not have the ability to determine which is fake or genuine news. So hopefully I would be able to shed light into this specific industry, because that's where I'm coming from, and that's what I love most, writing. Because I've been a journalist since I was in college. I was a campus journalist, and way back in Cebu, although I finished psychology, I was from first year to fourth year, I was with the Today's Carolinian, which is a very good hands-on training as far as journalism is concerned. So before I proceed to the major topic that I'd like to provide our audience, I'd like to give you an overview of the landscape of the media in the U.S., because we see that media is a reflection of society. It is a mirror of society. It is also a watchdog for government. And here in the US, we need to appreciate there are two facets of media, of the media industry. One is corporate media, which means the huge, big funded companies like, as you know it, CNN, Fox, they're also international because of the digital platform that we have right now. There's also the traditional New York Times, New Yorker, and all the other major papers, LA Times. Although right now the print industry is towards its twilight because of again the the coming of the digital highway, which is on everybody's hands through our cell phone. So print media is kind of eclipsed. And that's one side of the U.S. Media industry, the corporate. The second reality of the landscape of media in the U.S. is the ethnic media, which right now we are about 3,000 small time entities, like Awesome, like what I have created in 2012 together with Liani, my daughter. We are a small, almost like you can compare it to a mom and pop store, because that's also ushered in by the resurgence of digital technology. And can I start already the PowerPoint? Because
Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to thank you, Mark. So there are about 3,000 ethnic media organizations all over the U.S., and majority of them are Latino, and then followed by Asian Americans, and then the Black media, the Black ethnic media, Arab American, and lastly, Native American. So this is a result of the research done by the Pew Research Institute in 2015. So because the biggest number is Latino, because of by virtue of the minority immigrant population, the Latinos have the biggest number, and then Asian American, that's broken down into Chinese, Filipino, Korean, Vietnamese, and all that. And the Black is a solid group, because they're don't have any segmentation, and as well as the Arab Americans and the Native Americans. So that is our composition, and that is the landscape as far as our ethnic communities in the U.S. are concerned. So the next slide, please, Mark. And so, what is the audience of the ethnic media? There are 29 million adults all over the U.S. and 45%. This is 45% of the 64 million ethnic adults that's being studied in this research. And so, more than half are Hispanic, and approximately 2/5 are African Americans and Arab Americans, and a fourth are Asian Americans, where Filipinos belong, and a smaller group belongs to the Native Americans. So that is our composition. Now, the picture that you see, this was a recent forum sponsored by the Nepali Tibetan media group, and we were talking about the challenges of media in the time of COVID. This was just 2 weeks ago, and I had the honor to be able to share the situation of Filipino media and Filipino community in the US in the time of COVID. So we have a vibrant community that's emerging. Okay, so the next slide, please. Now, even if our ethnic populations want use information from the ethnic media and to be able to be aware of what's going on also in their countries of origin, they prefer to watch mainstream media so that they would know what's going on in politics and with U.S. government, which is understandable. So they still have the market. The corporate media has market as far as politics and U.S. laws are concerned, which is normal, of course. And so this picture that you see, that's the member of the Phil and Press Club of New York. We had a meeting with the Philippine Consul General to New York, Ambassador Claro Cristobal, when we were discussing about the updates of what's going on in our community as far as our battle against COVID is concerned. So we were keeping in touch through Zoom because we could no longer, this was during the lockdown, we cannot mingle anymore. We couldn't meet physically anymore. So we are still able to gather news through this technology. Okay, so the next slide, please. Now, this is interesting because the research of the Pew Research Institute has found out that the ethnic groups would rather trust, for example, CNN more than Fox News in terms of delivery of accurate news and information. And there is also the concern of Hispanics. They want they focus on the content of their news is on the quality of education, and African Americans as well as Arab Americans. And interestingly, for Asian Americans, including Filipinos, we are more concerned of the economy, of how the U.S. economy is going and has affected us Filipinos here in the U.S. And 1/10 of ethnic adults consider the war in Iraq or terrorism as an issue of great concern. By the way, this was conducted for a span of several years that still covered the war in Iraq, included the war in Iraq. So the reach of national papers such as New York Times or Wall Street Journal does not really reach much of the ethnic communities or the minorities in the US. For example, the Philippine newspaper Asian Journal is more preferred by Filipinos and Asians in terms of readership rather than subscribing to New York Times, which is again normal from where we're coming from where our interests lie on the Philippine situation and within our community here in the East Coast or in the West Coast. Okay, so last slide, Mark. So finally, what are the issues that Filipinos are talking about or are most affected and are concerned with? So number one, that would be immigration, of course, because we are postmodern immigrants. The immigration law is important and how it impacts to them, and then economy, and right now the census, which is a major campaign because we wanted to be visible as far as demographics is concerned, because this could translate to better services for Filipinos, better services for the needs. And also elections in the US is a major concern, Philippine issues for sure, and of course COVID-19. So this is the span of issues that journalists, local journalists like us from the Philippine Press Club of New York members are concerned. These are what we cover. And so you see on the picture, you'll see members of the press club, including our current president, Don Tagala. We are wearing masks to help in the campaign for public health, that it pays to wear masks to protect yourself and to protect others. So that's the picture. And the other picture, these are frontliners as they about to enter the slum area somewhere in Cebu City, and they will perform testing for the residents, testing for COVID-19. So that relates to this slide. So that's it for how it is. That's all I have for the slides. Thank you, Mark. And so starting February or March this year, majority of our coverage, my coverage, is on COVID. And because this is a new situation for all journalists and for all of us in the world, practically everything is worth writing. And it actually is overwhelming because there are so many issues that are affected by what's going on, the lockdown, the issue of not being able to work or being at risk with infection and all that, and now the new norm of to be very clean. All these are worth writing. So it's overwhelming. Even if I'm just home, actually I got more busy because there are so many stories to write about. And I personally, you have to do a lot of adjustments too, like being thoroughly clean, washing when you go out, you buy your food, you have to wash your fruits and cans and bottles and everything. And so everything is overwhelming and worth writing. And I remember the first coverage that I had that tackled on COVID was the impact of small businesses, small Filipino businesses, as New York was being shut down. The restaurants were closed. So how are they going to survive? And interestingly, here's a story of the triumph of human spirit, where I would like to cite an example, a small coffee shop owned by DJ Francisco, Ojilin Francisco in Lower Manhattan. Filipinos want to help our frontliners, right? Because they are mostly nurse. 1 in 4, by the way, 1 in 4 immigrants, Filipino immigrants, is a nurse. So that's how populous we are in terms of nurses here in the health system of the US. So the synergy of us, personally, I did, for example, and many others, ordered coffee and snacks for our nurses in the hospitals, and we bought it from a small business that's trying to survive the COVID, because how you cannot survive with just a walk-in buying 1 cup of coffee. And so thankfully DJ was able to keep her economy afloat with by the orders of Filipinos who want to support our nurses by buying bulk coffee, 20, 30, 50 coffees, and sandwiches also, 2 dozens, 3 dozens. And then this is going to be delivered to the hospitals. So the nurses felt good, the small business survived, and us who are in a lockdown felt a little better that we're able to help our Filipino nurses who are so overwhelmed in the hospitals. So that was for me, a triumph of the human spirit story, which Filipinos are so capable of. And since then, there were so many other stories coming out. Among them, the happy news that Governor Como was issuing a law, an executive order that would disallow eviction if you're unable to pay rent. So that is a minus as far as the stress problems of residents are concerned. So that's a good story. That's a sensible story for government to do. So that was well received, and so on and so forth. And last, so far the story that I have finished is how Filipinos are struggling to help their family members who have been afflicted with COVID, and how they were able to nurse them back to good health in a manner of social distancing and wearing all the gadgets. So it's an interesting story. So this had happened to me for a span of from March to now. So it's really a learning experience. It's scary, it's uncertain, but we all survived together, and so it's another milestone as far as my writing and my journalistic experience is concerned. So with that, Twin and Arceli, I am open to questions also from our audience.
Wow. Yes. Thank
Nice.
you so much, Twin. You know, it's very interesting. I mean, you gave us this whole new information, kind of bird's eye view of
Mhm.
the media's role in the society. To be honest, I never really looked at it the way when you said media is the mirror of the society. Until
Really?
now, I never really look at it that way. I always thought that it would be the other way around, like the media is influencing the society. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So on that
Well,
note, I want to ask,
mhm.
so how much of influence do you think has the media over the society? You know, there are fake news, there are very good news that are
Mhm.
undercovered, but the fake news is always sensational and they go out very quickly. And in terms of influencing the society, the mindsetting of the people, how powerful is media?
For sure, media is very powerful. Number one, it is the fourth state. Like we have government, it has executive, legislative, and judicial. Now the
Judicial.
fourth state, yeah, the fourth state is the media. This
The
is
media.
this notion had its history in Britain, and that because at that time when government was just evolving, there were people who observed how the leaders um, discussed things, how they discussed the law and passed the law, and so they were observers, and then they wrote what's going on. So this was how the concept of a watchdog is concerned. Right now, with the advent of social media, I would go directly to your point on being influential, um, because the advent of fake news is just recent with the coming out of the social media. You know, let me just give you a definition of media. It's the channel, right? In a whole gamut of our communication process, there's the message, there's the messenger, meaning the source of information, or whether it's the president or it was a research program, a research study. So that's the messenger. And then the media or the channel. You go through print, you go through social media right now, where the deluge of fake news is. So that's the channel. And here things can be very complicated. And then there is the channel, there's the audience or the receiver or the consumers of news, the people. And the fifth element is feedback. Feedback meaning it goes back to the message, if it was received, if they like the
Mhm.
messenger, if they did not, if they question the media, if it has integrity, is it trustworthy? Things. So this is the complex situation of the media industry of communication process. Now, how influential is media? It is very influential. Twin. In fact, media as an institution right now has become more influential, for example, than the church, because the church has to learn to use digital media to be able to communicate. More influential, in fact, than schools, because right now the children, and I have seen this in my own eyes, are more they enjoy more playing Minecraft, which is an entertainment media. They don't want to listen to the Zoom and listen to their teachers during the time of lockdown. So that is how complex it has become. Now, as far as fake news is concerned, the advent of unfortunately, I will have to call it as it is. The trolls. The trolls are so funded by political people in the Philippines or in any other country, the U.S. as well. They are there to weaponize, like they mungle the truth. They bully the source, or they call it fake. And the more you say and people are not able to determine, what is really an institution that is professionally doing news gathering and reporting, or what organization is this that's like intimidating, or calling somebody like Dilawan, or or things like that. So
the third
yeah,
person,
yes. So
blue and red.
these are the trolls. Actually, are like soldiers that are created or paid to give so much noise, to discredit information and provide misinformation. That is a very, very personal problem as far as a professional journalist as I am is concerned, and the others as well. So we have actually been provided some orientation and seminars on how to decipher fake news. For example, you know what? It's very sensational. This news, for example, President Trump orders stimulus package for all Americans, including undocumented undocumented people in America. That could be a news. That's a sensational news. And when you hear that, you will be so happy hearing that. Most likely you will share it. You didn't even open it and read it. So before you do that, before you are so happy and share, read the article and look at the website. This is what I always tell everyone, even my family. If you have a funny sounding website, like superlife.com, that's a very funny sounding website for news, superlife.com, or there are many other funny sounding websites. So that is a red flag. And then look at the source. Who is the source of the information saying that? Was it the Department of Finance saying that? And is there a attribution? And did President Trump was President Trump quoted as saying that, and all that? So these are the two things you have to consider in reading the news before you share it, before you feel so happy. Like if it's too good to be true, maybe it's not true. So that's just my take on that. I hope I answered you, Twin.
Yes, you did, definitely. Arceli, do you have a question or comment?
Okay. I'm just actually struck, and I would like to congratulate you, Miss Marivir. You are one among the unsung heroes. Actually, what are highlighted nowadays are the frontliners. They call it the doctors, the nurses, and seldom do we hear that the media. I just do not know, but this is just what I have noticed, that the media is among the heroes who are actually giving us or shedding us light on what is happening around. So you are also putting yourselves at risk. You are placing yourselves at the limelight, and because of that, we people are learning from you. We are receiving news, right? So what are the challenges of the media people nowadays? Are you also affected economically, or it's just fine? So what are other challenges aside from being at risk with the virus itself?
Yes, the challenge for media or media practitioners will always be to be true to our ethics, which is accuracy and to have fair reporting. So that is in all facets, whether you are doing print, whether you are doing social media reporting, you are doing broadcast TV or radio. Accuracy is number one, being truthful, and number two, having a fair, balanced report, meaning you get all sides to the story. For example, when you are investigating a story that's about corruption, you will have to go to the person who has been sort of accused of certain misdeed. So that's about fair and balanced reporting. And other challenge, you know what, financially, media practitioners are not rich. None of us will become millionaires. We will just be okay with the roof on our head and food on the table. But it's not financially lucrative. You will have. I have psychological abundance, richness in my heart and in my conscience that I'm doing what my responsibility tells me to do. and that's my form of happiness, my form of satisfaction. And if I'm not able to do that, then that's my challenge. It's a hit on my conscience, so I'll not feel good about myself. I speak for myself because there are other media practitioners who may not hold so much onto the ethics of journalism, and so that's the challenge I do. You're good only as far as the last story that you have created. So with those principles, with the principle also of being fair and factual and timely, that's my challenge every day as I do my work.
Thank you, Twin.
Thank you.
Okay.
Twin, I have another question.
Mhm.
With the extreme polarization of opinions nowadays, do you think that it is influenced by the media?
Opinion of what?
Anything, whether it
You mean-
be a government or politics or religion or social justice. Do you think the media has played a role?
Yes. Media is a big influencer, but the media as a channel is not the cause of that. It's the message that's being transmitted through the media that's influencing people. For example, the U.S. The U.S. The huge media companies here, not ethnic media, okay? The corporate media, which, by the way, the two sides of media is this, Twin. We are for truth. We speak on behalf of the people, like what is really going on the ground. But there is a business sense to media. And these are the influencers of media, the advertisers. The advertisers pay the salaries of everyone, the journalists, the editors, and all the technical people in the industry. And they influence the content of media. And there's also politics. There's politics, and you see it here in the U.S. You will realize that Fox is usually Republicans and right wing, and you will see CNN is usually left and liberal. So why is this? Because it has a lot to do with who provides the funds of these media institutions. So that's what earlier I said, supposedly independent, but there will always be some undercurrent. Depends on who owns media and who is funding it. So that makes it really, really, really complicated. And one can say, as my professor at the UTS had said, that the U.S. media has become a propaganda machine for the Democrats and the Republicans. This is mainstream media because you don't see that in ethnic media. Ethnic media speaks about life in the grassroots, life in the community of as far as immigration problems are concerned, as far as wages are concerned. You will read these stories from ethnic media, not much from mainstream, because you're correct, Twin. It's become just like, you just look at America as like, is it just between Democrats and Republicans in the US? If you listen to Fox and CNN and MSNBC, it seems like it's just like that, but it's more than that. There are many other voices that are not quite heard by the louder channels of communication because they don't have much funds compared to these giant companies. So that's true, Twin. So, and what I'm doing, I'm pushing as much as I can to give voice to our own Filipino American community. And I network also with other communities that are doing something quietly for the good of the American society. So that's what I'm saying. So support ethnic media.
That's very
That's my
important. What
message.
you're doing is really important. I have some perspective, and I would like to get your opinion. The other day, I attended a high-level Zoom conference, and one of the speaker mentioned about something like the period that we are in right now is similar to what happened in the Enlightenment period, where there was the Renaissance and Reformist. And this is like the period in history where so many of the opinions are like Enlightenment. So we know 400 years fast forward, we know that where those two opposing ideas, how they developed into, so the enlightened, the reformists, they shape the future of the conservatives Christianity, and then the education, and then the other side of it is the Renaissance. They um, evolved into the communist area. So democratic and communist. What do you think? How do you see? We'll see 100, 200 years from now, these extreme division, caused by the subliminal indoctrination of the whatever we see, whatever information that is fed into us. 100, 200 years from now, how these two opposing ideologies and social views will develop. What do you think? It's very interesting.
I know, but it's a long shot for 200 years. I'd like to.
Okay, 50 years.
Yeah, okay. I'd like to look at it as like life will be better. For me, I am by heart, I am an optimist, and I work hard to make my life better and for others to have a better life as well through my own way as a journalist, as a writer. So if we learn the lessons, for example, of what's going on, it's a worldwide pandemic, and if that message is being conveyed through us, through the writers, media, social, here in the US or anywhere in the world, and we learn the lessons of this crisis, we will become a better humanity. We will become a better world. And I do believe in that. And as far as political upheavals are concerned, for me, Twin, the values of democracy, the voice of people, I am a media practitioner. I hold dear my right to freedom of expression. And so if we hold dear that one, we will let the truth come out all the time. We will be guided accordingly. Because if we cannot live in lies, if we will tell lies, we will be doing wrong things because we don't know what's really the score, right? So if media, for me, media people are frontliners for truth. That is a sacred thing that I hold in my heart, and I will do it through these challenging times, because this is going to help us charter correct decisions as individuals or as a country or as a family, as a community. Now, if we don't begin with the truth, we will not be going towards the correct direction, towards a better direction. So I will not even look at 200 years. I will look at tomorrow or 20 days from now, 30 days from now, 1 year from now, 50 years. Let's just be guided by truth, and let us defend that and protect the journalists who are so dedicated to provide truth to our listeners and readers. And for me, that is my role in providing, giving enlightenment to our readers and listeners to make correct decisions based on accurate facts. So that's my take.
Arceli.
Oh, very interesting world you are in, right? You are in
Yes,
the
it's
world of
exciting,
facts,
and
that you are really guarding the facts. And of course, your opinion are also asked for at times, right? As journalists, how do you play your biases in that sense? Because human as we are, we also have our biases. So how do you handle things? I'm just really quite interested on those areas.
Yeah. So there's my mentor, my editor, was always telling us that be factual, research. You cannot open your mouth, you cannot share your opinion without doing research. Sometimes it doesn't matter that my opinion will be out there in the article. First be factual, and then later put your opinion. If you are doing a commentary piece, you cannot just make a commentary based on gossip, for example, or you just go to the entertainment gossip pages, not right. So what I'm saying is facts, information, and then your opinion. As a journalist, I don't have the license to give my opinion. I will state, for example, I'm reporting about a fire. So there's a fire going on, God forbid, in Tagbilaran at the cathedral. So 10 people died, 20 suffered injuries. a fireman died in the service while doing that service, I will be accurately saying those things. And then I will be accurately gathering. I mean, I'll try to find out what's the cause of the fire. So things like that. So these are basic facts that a journalist must must do. I mean, it's an SOP for her to do that. Now, as far as opinion is let me because this is let me go deeper into this, because you see in an article there's such thing as perspective. This is where you say bias ka, but there is really a perspective. For example, if you write an article that there's an apartment that was on fire and there were so many who died, maybe there was a child who died because the mom left her and so the baby was alone in the room, or there was another, the millionaire who's supposed to give charities the following day died because she was able to sleep. So no, so where is your perspective? So you discuss this with your editor. Or who were the casualties? Who were the victims of the fire? And so your editor will give you a perspective. Okay, angle on the child that was left by the mom. So there's your perspective. It is still truthful. There was still a millionaire who died and not able to do his charity work the following day because he passed away. So in that discussion with your editor, there you go with your perspective. So this is when you people normally say, you're biased, because it's actually a perspective, how you angle your story. So that's the trick of it, Arceli.
You must be
Perspective.
very witty
Yeah.
and very careful, right? So thank
Yeah.
you so much, Marivir.
Esther has a question. Esther, actually, you can ask her because you're in the Zoom room. Unmute
Okay.
yourself
Just
first.
unmute yourself.
I'm okay. Yeah, Marivir,
Yeah.
this is my question. It was just a very interesting topic you got there. You know, I'm just curious actually if, about bribery. If some politicians, they do that, or especially in the Philippines, also here in Europe, if you get the bribery and then you write it in your news, in your newspaper, and then how it affect your integrity of the journalist if you do, and then the people find it out that it's not really it was not really the proper issue. So how will you go with it?
Bribery is, of course, a crime being done by
Yes.
the one who gave and the one who received, right? The one who bribed and the one who was bribed, and he or she allowed it. And for journalism, in our ethics, that is an absolute no. However, in the context, again, in the perspective of, for example, in the Philippines, there are senators who call for a press conference, and in the press kit, they actually put money inside the
Yes,
press
that's
Yes,
envelope.
correct.
exactly.
Yes,
That's what I'm.
and it's
And they think
normalized.
it's normal.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that culture in Manila, in Cebu, in the urban centers. So there are like journalists who like look at like, oh, there's something for us. Oh,
Yeah.
only this much. Oh, maliit lang, maliit. Oh,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is good. So there's that subculture going on that's being developed. Especially, I speak on what's going on in the Philippines while I was still there. So it's sad because sometimes when you do not accept it and you return it, you are the one who's a bad person, and you
Yes,
are the
yes.
one who is in our Cebuano language, hilas. Ikaw ang hilas when you
Uh,
give it back. But
yeah.
actually, let me cite to you an example. There was a very rich man in Cebu who asked me to write a story about his problem with the register of deeds. He bought a land and he was so mad at the register of deeds because the land that he bought was also sold to another buyer. So there were two of them claiming the land. And he was so mad and he was going to file before the ombudsman a case of fraud against the register of deeds. And so he comes to me and asks me, how much does it take to make this story page one? And asking me, I said, like, meaning how much should he pay me? I said, no, sir, you are not going to pay me anything because this will hold water. Your story has merit. I will not assure you if it's going to be page one because I'm not the editor for page one, but I will write it. As I interviewed him and he gave me documents, and these were in all in order. The documents were filed, and so it will hold water as they were filed at court. So I told him that and said he was so shocked. Like, I did not ask for money. I said, like, you don't need to. This is the kind of education I'm going to tell everyone, that if your story is highly meritorious because it answers to question on transparency, good governance, human rights, and all that, you don't need to pay. Even those politicians who want to do some press conference and they think like they have to pay journalists. And that's taxpayers' money, by the way. So it's really odd. It's really an awkward situation. But plain journalism, you don't need the payment to come up with a story that will really let the truth out and transform a certain facet of society or a law or bad ways of an official. So that's it.
Thank
I
you,
hope I
Twin.
answered you.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you, Marivir.
It's very educational, actually. Don't you think so, Arceli?
Yes, very much.
Yeah.
Miss Marivir, you are really very courageous.
Oh, well, you just do what you
Just
have to
not
do.
know
If you
how
like
you
it,
feel
you will
about
just
the
do it.
things going on in the Philippines now, like the RISA thing, the ABS-CBN issue.
Those
Oh,
are
yeah.
hot topics.
Yes, yes.
Red buttons there.
Mhm.
Okay, so we are running out of time.
Yes, we have run out. Oh my God.
Our topic
We
is
finished
very
an hour.
interesting. An hour flies by so quickly. We
Uh-huh.
wish we always have more time, right? But
Thank you for having me.
yes, we are.
Yeah.
It's
Twin
today is
Arceli.
very enlightening, actually. Truth and to be the mirror of the society. That really, to me, I remember that. Yeah, it's not it's both ways, but really the role of the media is more than ever very important. It shapes, actually it can shape history.
Yes, yes.
And it influences mind settings of people, and especially the younger generation, because history is written by those people who holds the narrative, isn't it?
You're right.
Yeah.
That's why, Twin,
Yeah.
we should have a women's world so that we will speak our own truths.
Right.
Don't let
That's
anybody.
right.
Don't let anybody
Exactly.
say it. Just
And
you have to say
the
it.
role of ethnic media is more than ever crucial at this point
Yes.
in time, so that we move forward with the right heart, the right mindset, and the right attitude. So to close, as always, I'd like to close it with the Food for the Heart by Mother Moon, the Mother of Peace. You know what's interesting? You mentioned about mirror of society. This particular phrase that I chose, she mentioned about to be a clear mirror. She said, and I quote, "To be a clear mirror that reflects this age, each woman first needs to be a clear and pure within herself. Each needs to find the indomitable power within that is necessary to overcome self-centeredness. She needs to become a true daughter who attends her parents with filial piety, and a true wife who completes her husband with fidelity and devotion. Moreover, she needs to become a true mother who raises her sons and daughters with love and dedication. She needs to form a family of true love that attends God. God will raise up such true women as leaders on the path to world peace." It's very interesting because whatever confusion that is going on around us, as long as we are very clear of our values, of the truth, as you said, Marivir, Twin, as you said, that if we have the truth in our heart, we can move forward with confidence, and we know that we will be in a better, good place 100 years, 200 years from now. On that note,
Yes.
I want to thank you.
Thank
Twin,
you for
thank you
having
so
me.
much for that very informative, educational lecture and
My
conversation.
pleasure.
And Arceli, my co-host today, thank you.
Thank you.
And Esther and Kuya Joe and everyone. I know week after week, we have grown, and we have forged our way towards, a better world for all the women who are out there.
Thank you.
And
Thank you so much.
I wish you all have a good week, and God bless you all. From Women's World to your world,
This is our
have
world.
a good week and a blessed week. Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Mark and Shin.
So, what happened to our coffee? I don't have
Are
a
we
coffee
off? Are we off already?